Killer pitch practice. It's really important to keep practicing that pitch. Hi guys, my name's Deepak Shukla, founder at Pearl Lemon Sales. We're a sales training and development agency based in the UK as well as the USA and serving clients worldwide. And today, in day number 28 of 119 days of cold calling training, we're here to talk about building that killer pitch through practice. But before we get into it, feel free to click the link below to get an additional 17 strategies that are not shared in this training. So killer pitch practice is fundamentally practicing the pitch rapid fire in a very short span of time to very quickly figure out the kinks that come into your actual pitch. Oftentimes what happens is people will fumble their way through the first couple of days of pitching, and by the time that they've refined the pitch, they've already burnt through maybe 100, depending upon the system you're using, maybe 1,000 contacts, okay? Can you imagine that? It will take you between 100 to 1,000 contacts to actually figure out a pitch that you're happy with. And by that time, if it's 100 contacts and you have a good conversion ratio, you could have lost 2, maybe 3 appointments. Heck, you could have lost a sale, okay? And if a sale's worth, let's say, $10,000, £10,000, that lack of killer pitch practice could be costing you $10,000 per 100 calls. And that would scale it up to $100,000 per 1,000 calls. But you take my point, right? That it's uncomfortable and therefore necessary to engage in just nailing the pitch before you really get on the phone. Now, we did speak about in the last training the actual pitch to write script approach, which is absolutely fine. You do it for the first 20 to 60 minutes. But in tandem with that, depending upon your confidence, ability, skill level, there's no reason why, for example, especially when you've got, and this is where it changes, if you've got ultimately a very small contact database to work with, then it definitely does make sense to nail killer pitch practice. Because if you've only got a total of 1,000 numbers total for the entire industry, because that's the industry size, and there's not a lot of movement in the industry with new players coming in, then it means that you're going to need close to, let's call it perfection, if you will, in terms of the pitches that you put out there. So with that in mind, you're going to need a higher level of prep for killer pitch practice, okay? So there's a direct line between, or direct correlation between, contact data and the necessity of killer pitch practice. But irrespective of both scenarios, where you've got 100 contacts or you've got, I don't know, 1 million contacts, it just pays to do the killer pitch practice, okay? Now, what does it entail and what does it look like? I'm going to give you an example of what a killer pitch practice might look like. So you're going to be pitching fundamentally to somebody. So I'm going to pitch to you, and I'm going to pitch to you the idea on completing all of these 119 videos, okay? So, hey, Frank, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for deciding to check out this video. I think it's going to be incredibly valuable if you're able to work your way through the entirety of these 119 videos, because the value and the value that you're going to get from these training videos, the difference is going to make in your ability to pitch over the phone, to gauge interest, to generate that interest, to build rapport, to get the prospect to like you, to set up a phone call later on in the week, is going to be night and day. This could literally make $1 million difference to your business. Deepak, 119 videos, I don't have the time, mate. Really don't have the time. So I hear what you're saying, Frank. This is definitely something that I'd say is still worth you doing. It's worth making the time, and the time can be broken down. Let me ask you this. Do you have 8 minutes a day? Do you have 8 minutes a day? Do you think you could spare 8 minutes a day? Not really, Deepak. So guys, I'm going to step out of pitch mode now. So the reason that I'm doing this killer pitch practice, or that I'm showing you an example of pitch practice, because you're going to get curveballs thrown at you, okay? You're going to get questions that come up during killer pitch practice that you're not going to have the direct answer for on the spot, okay? But in those moments is when you get the best opportunity to work your way through an objection that comes up. Lack of time, lack of interest, lack of perceived value, lack of differentiation. So there's many ways that these lacks, as I call them, manifest. So lack of time could be you're talking to a busy prospect. Lack of differentiation could be you're saying the same stuff as everybody else. Lack of income. I don't really have enough money for your product, Deepak. Lack of uniqueness, let's say, which is probably the similar to lack of differentiation, but just also lack of interest. Look, sounds great, sounds fantastic, but I'm not really that interested in it. You know, it's just not for me. So killer pitch practice allows you to really close and kill these objections. And that's what we're talking about here. It's the objections that you really get an opportunity to work upon, as well as the pitch itself, of course, working on that elevator, working on the energy, working on the tonality. And if you can get comfortable with hard objections that get thrown at you, and this is another important point where killer pitch practice comes into play, that you can basically throw the craziest objections. You can put yourself or put your sales rep under the most difficult of ultimately pressure and circumstances, and as a consequence it's going to make the actual calls go that much better. And that's why killer pitch practice, again, it can be intense. It could be a 15 to 20-minute session of going back and forth over the pitch with someone who's going to just continually throw objections, continually take the actual caller down different paths, different lines, so no call or no pitch is the same, but throughout those actual pitches, it's going to build enough breadth and depth of objection handling, of sidestepping, of figuring out the way to yes, and all of these elements to build an ultimately killer pitch that comes through practice. So guys, I think that this is a must before you get on the phone, because it will make a world of difference to your ability to close appointments. Thank you.
Remember, we've got 17 gated strategies just waiting for you. All you need to do is bing, subscribe, as well as click the link in the description below to get access to those 17. Get some.